right, so made it to camp here at Caprock Canyon State Park, just about an hour or so southeast of Amarillo. It's Monday, December 4th, 2023, here for the Texas drawn mule deer hunt. Really excited to be here. This first day is really just getting camp set up. Got here around 1 or so. It's about 3 o'clock now. The hunt doesn't actually start until tomorrow around 10 a.m. They're going to corral us together at 9 a.m. at the headquarters to do a draw to figure out what specific unit we can hunt. There's I think there's 6 different units here total that range from about 1,500 acres to 2,500 acres. So I'll end up drawing one of those. I've spent about a dozen hours or so in OnX taking a paper map and building that out into a digital map, calling out some areas that look like they're actually able to get to. The terrain here is pretty gnarly. We'll check it out here in a little bit, but it's awesome. If you're from North Texas like myself in the Metroplex, in the Dallas area, it's unreal. There's lots of elevation, rocky terrain, really cool. So really excited to check it out a little bit more. With it being Monday at 3, there's not a whole lot of time left daylight wise to get out and scout and look around. And really, like I said, with there being 6 different units that, cover roughly 15 to 20,000 acres, there's not a whole lot I'll be able to do with a half a day. But what I do want to check out is access. So I've identified 4 or 5 different good spots, parking wise, to get to different units, and 2 or 3 different locations that have neighboring private property where it looks like there could be some planted wheat fields. So with this being a mule deer hunt, it'd be awesome if any of those are planted. I would imagine you'd see some mule deer going in and out if you're in one of those areas. But like I said, it's kind of a coin toss where I'll end up hunting. So it's really, just to get out and see how things look. So we'll take some more footage here in a little bit, see how things pan out, but excited to be here. Not bad. Probably not a good idea to come back here on County Road 29 if it's been raining at all, or if you don't have a 4-wheel drive vehicle for sure. But even if you do, if it's been raining, might be a little sketchy. Beautiful though. So it's 3:45. I'm just saying that for reference so I can remember how long it took to get this far. It really was only like, I think it was 4 or 5 miles, but this road is kind of rough. I'm trying to see when I sent a text here, 3:23. So I guess that's not horrible, but 20 to 30 minutes should budget to get to this area if we end up hunting over here. But man, that road's a little rugged. But what I'm trying to confirm, oh, there's a deer right there. Check this out. So that's pretty cool. This area that I had spotted on OnX to see if there was possibly a wheat field that was planted, just by the way it looked from some satellite images. Wanted to come check it out to see if it was actually holding any wheat. My thought was, if it is, it's going to be a highway, a good food source for the mule deer that neighbor the state park. So just to give you some reference, if you look back over my shoulder here, the left shoulder, about 20 yards is some private property that appears to have a wheat field that's planted. And then if you look behind me, about another 20 yards, that's the border of the state park. So everything back there is one of the units that could be drawn for someone, which appears to be holding deer, which is awesome. That was 2 mule deer does just hanging out right here on the edge, about 10 yards from the road, eating on some winter wheat. So it looks like it is holding some wheat. I want to go over there and check it out a little bit more without obviously going anywhere too close to that private property, you know, in terms of over the fence, anything like that, obviously. But just want to see what it looks like. But it appears like there is a little bit of wheat coming through, so good to know, good for reference. It's actually $3 right here. Let's see if we can get him on camera. Oh, they're chasing. Yeah, so saying that wheat field is a good spot would be an understatement. I've seen $5 since we've been here, just 5 minutes. It looks like they're chasing a little bit still, so I'm gonna see if I can get this spotter out that has our Magby one here, get a little better look at them for us. But one looked like it's a 3x3, pretty heavy, maybe legal. So in this county, there is antler restrictions. In most counties for mule deer in Texas, there are. One of those bucks looked like that may have been legal, but let's go check them out, see if we can get a better view. I'm gonna go check out one more spot that looked like it would be a pretty solid setup on Onyx if this other wheat field that's up here is holding wheat. What's awesome is it's right here by a watering hole. You know, once again, all this land behind me here is state park access, and that watering hole right here is on the road that borders private. So we'll see what it looks like, but man, these views are unreal. So this field we wanted to check out is not planted in wheat this year. From some of the historical images on X, it looked like maybe at one point it was, but it's definitely not this year. They got some cattle out there that you can see, but nothing that I think is gonna really pull them in. Like that field we saw back there, that thing was fire. So I'm gonna go cruise around a little bit more. About to get back on the main highway, so should be able to cover a little bit more ground quickly. But good to get some eyes on some mule deer. So didn't take long at all. Really happy to see that. So I'm gonna cruise around a little bit more. It's 4:30, so got about another hour left of good daylight. I don't want to be out here on these roads when it gets super dark. There's some sketchy drop-offs, but really cool country. It's beautiful back here. So see what we can find. Day 2, Tuesday, December 5th. So this will be the first day that the hunt actually starts officially at 10 a.m. It's about 8:17, and they're gonna have everyone here that's been drawn for the hunt meet at the camp headquarters at the park to do the compartment assignments and then have an orientation. Supposed to meet up at 9 o'clock, so I think I'm gonna head over and glass a little bit. There's a lot of canyons that are right here by the campgrounds, the Honey Flat campground, and one of the compartments that is actually available to hunt butts right up to it. So I figured let's go get some glass in a little bit while I'm waiting out for this drawing to take place. Saw a few deer here this morning, nothing crazy here right at camp. I'll have some videos that will embed to show those, but 3 doe, little buck, they're just hanging out right here at camp. So about 10 yards from my truck as I was getting stuff loaded up. So there's definitely some activity going on in these canyons that are right here by the campground. So see what we can find. right, so just getting done with this orientation here at Caprock Canyon for the mule deer hunt. It's Tuesday morning, about 9:30. Got everything wrapped up, and I drew the orange unit, which is a 2,100 acre compartment that backs up to this campground area that I'm set up at with my tent. So if I wanted to, could even wake up and just walk out and walk into my unit, which is nice, at least the south end of the unit. So I'm looking forward to that. The other good thing about this spot, there's a park road that will take me deep, very deep into this unit, at least on the perimeter, so I can have a few good spots to start from. That's not the case with all the units here, so it's a nice option to have. So with it being 9:30, I'm not really expecting to see a whole lot out moving right now. So really the main goal is just to get out and get set up and find a good spot to get the glass and just get something going. So as I'm driving in here looking at this on X, the wind is actually out of the northwest today. So what my game plan is going to be is to actually not drive deep into the perimeter of the unit here on the west side and start from the north. I actually want to start from the south end on a trail that's pretty close to my campground here and then work my way up. So I'm going to plan on doing that. The other thing I want to check out is there's some private property that neighbors this unit that I'm hunting that you can't get to easily from a road that looks like they may have a planted wheat field. So I want to see if that is planted and see how that pans out. So we'll get going here shortly. All right, on the trail in this orange unit, got a spot I want to check out, see if it's holding any winter wheat. See if we can get some eyes on what's going on there, and then we'll get set up for a spot to glass. So we're moving. It's a little later than you'd want, but with the orientation, it's kind of what you get. So it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning. See what we can see. Posted up here, just glass in this little canyon. Looks like there's some folks back in here hiking, which is a little sketchy. The park is definitely closed today, and there's people out here hunting, so see if I can give these folks a heads up, but not a bad view. Check this out. Well, that was interesting. Ran into a older couple who was here for just a hiking getaway. Let them know that this whole entire park is closed for this drawn hunt, that are people out here with rifles and doing some deer hunting. They didn't seem to care too much, so that's unfortunate. It's definitely a safety concern. They're not wearing any orange, obviously, and let them know that, hey, it's closed for the rest of the week, but you know, I guess people think, hey, it's a state park, it's public land, it's year-round type deal. So they're definitely back here in this unit that I'm hunting in, and their hope was to hike down to the bottom of this canyon to get some views, but it's one of the areas I was hoping to do some hunting, so I'm going to hike the opposite way and get further in, but yeah, it's unfortunate. spent the last hour here glassing up this basin that's down below. Looked like it'd be like a pretty solid bedding area, but just wasn't able to pick anything out that looked like it was anything worth chasing. So heard that the group that was out here hiking earlier, the park staff luckily were able to locate those folks and help escort them out just for safety reasons. That pretty sketchy deal with people out here rifle hunting and everything else. Not a good time to be hiking, so at least that part's taken care of. I'm gonna head around this canyon rim about probably another half mile, 3/4 of a mile, see if I can find another area in this basin that looks like it's good to glass up. So should take about another 45 minutes or so to do it, but gotta get after it. It's a nice day. The wind's died down quite a bit, so it turned out to be a pretty sweet day. Hopefully we can turn something up. Took a little lunch break. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. So I've kind of dropped down out of the canyon lands a little bit into these more like rolling hills. Kind of see it like this. There's a spot that I had marked that looked like it had a pretty good overlook of a little creek, a little ravine that seemed like it would be a good vantage point. So I'm trying to make it there in glass for about an hour and a half, and if it looks good, maybe hang there for the evening. If not, there's a spot that I've marked about a mile and a half away that has a pretty good overwatch of some open land and kind of rolling hills and a ravine bottom that at least looks like I'd be able to see something if it was out moving in the evening hours. So plan for now is to go check out this spot that's down the way here a little bit, see how that looks, see if it offers a better viewpoint. The only part that stinks about it, it's really just one way in, one way out. So from where the truck is, it's probably about an hour and a half hike to get out from this spot I'm going to. So not a big deal, but just something I got to think about if I'm going to hang out there that evening or this evening. So this other spot that I've mapped out is probably 20 or 30 minutes out to the truck, and it's a pretty easy path out. So I'm feeling like I may hang out there this evening unless this other spot just looks awesome. So not a bad spot here to grab a bite to eat for lunch. See if we can turn up here in a little bit. So I'm liking this spot where I am right now. Reason being, I can see a good ways out, and there's decent amount of clearing, so I wouldn't be trying to pick something out amongst a bunch of brush. So the problem with this spot though is that it's about an hour and a half or so to get out of here, best case scenario. So I'm not really fond of that kind of trek back to the truck after it gets dark. Not a big deal, but you know, it's a good hike back after the evening hunt. So I'm gonna scope this out for the next hour and a half or so, see what it looks like, then maybe make a move around 4 or so, maybe to head to that other spot just to see what that looks like. But I really like where this is. I could probably park somewhere a little closer tomorrow to try to hunt here in the morning. There's a little riverbed that I'll show here in a second that looks like it's pretty easy to walk through, and there's a trail that kind of neighbors that, so I should be able to skirt along that in the morning to get in if I want. I haven't seen a lot of movement, like really anything at all. Obviously haven't seen any deer since I've been out here hunting today. It's really trying to pick them out amongst all this brush, and it's really thick and steep in spots, but where I am right now, it's definitely a little bit more manageable. So my goal was to explore this unit a little more today to see if I could figure out where any other spots like this would be so I could map those out and hunt those. But doing this all on foot makes it a little challenging just given the amount of ground you have to cover. So it might be something I get into tomorrow, but very peaceful right now. This weather is awesome. It's like 60 degrees. The wind's died down. I think it is supposed to get warmer and windier as the week goes on, so was hoping to see some stuff move today just given how perfect it is, but never really works out the way you want it. Great scenery nonetheless. Spent about an hour and a half in that last spot. It's glassing. Didn't turn up anything, but it's a beautiful spot and seems prime for some movement. I probably just didn't give enough time, but it's about 4 o'clock, or let's see. Yeah, it's about 4 o'clock, and I got about an hour and a half hike one way back toward the truck's parked, which is very close to camp. So I want to get to a spot that's about 30 minutes away that I found a little earlier that was similar to the last spot where it's kind of at the union of a couple of basins, and there's an opening at the bottom of the drainages where it's just kind of like a rolling meadow with, you know, some sagebrush and cedars. But it seems like if there is any movement there, you'd be able to pick it out much easier than some of these canyon bottoms where it's just so thick. So I'm making the hike back there now. I'm trying to get set up by about 5 o'clock, then give it till about 6:30. Once it's nice and dark, see if we can get eyes on anything. But man, it's beautiful here. The weather's awesome. It's hard to complain. So fingers crossed we can turn up something a little bit later. So we're set up here where I'm gonna post up for the evening. Looking back at the spot I just came from, I liked it quite a bit better in terms of visibility into this country here, but from here I can see further. It's just pretty thick, so I'm gonna have to catch something on the move if anything comes out at all. So we'll see what turns up, but not very far from the truck, about 30 minutes. So I'm happy to hang out here after the sun goes down. Not a big deal. So hopefully we can turn something up. The glass, it's been kind of a slow day, but not for any lack of trying. It's just, if they're here, it's hard to see them. So let's see what we're working with. Enjoying a little dinner here, but in the meantime, now that I know what unit I'm in, this orange unit down here, I'm trying to do a little bit of map cleanup so I can get some of this clutter out of here, make it a little bit easier to read whenever I'm in the field. But prior to coming out, after getting a hold of one of the paper maps, I went in and mapped out some points that looked like it would be good to glass from and actually easy to get to, or not, I shouldn't say easy, but possible to get to given the landscape here. So I'm gonna take another look at some of the units I have. I'm sorry, some of the other areas I have in my unit that might be good for glassing. I like the way this one looked in the very north east corner. So I'm gonna see if I can find some more little pockets that look like that. And then did actually creep up on a few doe on my walk out to the truck. So I think those are the same deer that are coming in at this camp area. So it's a little close to camp to consider getting after. Plus there's, not any bucks, but I'm hopeful that if there's doe moving that there's a chance. So play with this for a little bit, finish eating some grub here, then go hang out by the fire and chill out. All right, it's day 2, and it's about 6:15 in the morning. There's a spot that I'm going to try out that's actually not too far here from camp, but it's within the unit that I'm hunting. So I've seen quite a bit of activity, movement around here, even as of yesterday evening, and then just in the mornings, there's been a pretty decent stream of movement. So hopeful that it turns up something at least to look at. So I'll be set up here about 30 minutes. We'll see how it looks. Had this spot picked out from yesterday evening to hunt this morning. That's just right here closer to camp, and it looked like I could have a pretty good vantage point from this little knob where there's an open field, just kind of right in that area. And I've seen doe move back and forth along this ridge, and I was hopeful that with the elevation I'd be able to see this field quite a bit better and maybe pick out some movement. But from this spot, there's too much brush. It looked like in Onyx the elevation here was a little higher than what it is, and plus these little cedars are taller than it looked online, the satellite view. So it's still early. It's only 7:45, so I'm gonna try and make a move and hope that there's still something on their feet and kind of get into a better spot just with this little knob. So I made it into the spot that I was hoping to get to, and had I mapped this out a little better, I would have been able to get here much earlier in the day, before sunup, and a lot easier too. The elevation I was hoping to have just doesn't really exist, like right here in this little area. So I've seen deer move in this area, right along this little ridge line. So you can kind of see what I'm working with here. This is getting to be the northern end of the compartment that I'm hunting, and there's a spot that I want to try to get to that I'll point out that it's about a mile away, that's up on a ridge that overlooks kind of a river bottom where there's some openings that I want to glass up. But right in here where I'm at is really just kind of a canyon, so it's still somewhat early. I'm gonna go try to get on this knob and glass it up and see if I can just see anything bedded down here in the bottom where it's still shaded on the north facing slopes of these canyon walls. Well, that happened kind of quick. So those pigs that I was recording, they were right behind me at like 15 yards. I'm up here on this knob, and the wind was perfect. I mean, right at my back, so they had no idea I was here. I was just up here up high, and they were right down there. And I'll turn the camera around and kind of show you what went down here. So this is the knob that I was set up on. Here's this little cedar bush. But so what went down, those pigs were just kind of feeding like right here in this area. So as they started to drop off and go down into this canyon, I had my rifle just set up like ready to roll, and as they got to about right there, I shot that mama pig, and it rolled all the way down into that river, that little canyon bottom down there. And as this is going on, I'm hearing a bunch of racket off into the brush over here. I just don't know if that may have spooked something else out, so I'm trying to see if there's any movement before I head down there and mess with that pig and cut off the hams and back straps. So interesting. So the pig's down just right over here, about to go get to work butchering it, and luckily I'm not too far from the truck, so I can get this meat back on ice and then get back to this hunt for mule deer and see if we can spot anything. But just to give some frame of reference, so the pig's right here, the little knob that I shot from is right up there, and it's kind of hard to tell, but that's really only about, from here, probably 150 yards, 125 yards, but it's down about 150 feet. So definitely a little bit of a ravine here. Nothing crazy, but it's going to be fun getting out. Just going to have to traverse up, I think, this little path right here, then go drop this guy off in the truck, then probably eat some lunch, and then get back to glassing for mule deer. So hopefully I didn't spook anything out of this canyon too bad. Not a big deal. Had to shoot this thing a couple of times, twice with this 308, which is suppressed, which is helpful, I'm sure. And then I finished this thing off with a 9mm handgun just to put it out of its misery. These things are tough. If you've ever hunted pigs in Texas, I'm sure you can attest, but these are some pretty tough animals. So, gonna see what we're working with here. All right, time to get to work. So I'm trying to figure out which of these little valleys I'm going to set up on this evening. Based off where I've dropped my gear, there's 3 to 4 different options. All have a little bit kind of different things going on. This one I'm looking at right now has more cover on this downward slope that opens up into this little valley. So that's nice, but aside from that, it's not a huge area. I'll show it here in a second, but the other thing that makes this option a little more attractive than where I just was glassing is that the trail that I'm going to take out after the sun goes down, and probably before it gets to be just dark, it's not that far from here, and it seems like the path down is actually attainable. The slope on the other side is pretty nasty. I'd have to go back around the other way and then backtrack down this way I'm looking right now, which I don't know that I want to do, so I need to think about it, but we'll see. So today is Thursday, December 7th. This is day 3 of the hunt. Day 3 of 4, really. Day 3 of, well, I guess it's day 3 of 4. Friday's a half day opportunity to get at the hunt. I don't know how it's looking. I'm not feeling great about Friday morning, or really even the hunt this evening. So what's changed a little bit, a warm front is pulling through today. It's going to be mid 70s, I think, here in this area. And so the wind has been really strong over the night. I think they are calling for gusts of up to 30-35 miles an hour, if not higher. And it's been sustained 15-20 mile an hour wind all night. So it's pretty rough conditions here just to get out and sit and hope that anything's going to be moving around. So I'm not feeling great about the odds for how it's going to shape out this morning, this evening, and really tomorrow morning. So depending on how today goes, May end up just coming back and packing up camp and hitting the road. Had a pretty long day yesterday with the spot that I hunted yesterday evening. Looked awesome. It was perfect. It was on the south side, I'm sorry, the north side of a little canyon ridge, just a perfect little valley. It was nice and calm. So the canyon was the ridge was blocking the wind, so it was great. But it was a pain to get back there. So I think one-way trip just to hike back to that spot, about 1.5 miles over not flat terrain. So that took, I don't know, probably 1.5 hours or so, 2 hours. It was pretty tough sledding getting back there. So there's not really anywhere that feels like I'm going to be able to get out of the wind that's relatively reachable that I haven't been before, unless you're just down in a canyon. So I feel like, if I were a deer, that's where I'd be today, this morning, just kind of down on those canyon bottoms, just kind of feeding around. There's so many of them though. There's, more than you can count on your hands and toes just in this compartment that I'm in. And it's pretty rough. So my game plan is to hit up an area that the only area that I've seen deer activity, movement, since I've been hunting here in the state park. I've seen some activity obviously over on private, not in a compartment that we're not hunting, but there's a group of guys, 2 guys over there hunting, so hopefully they've got something. But I don't know, just not feeling great about it, but that's okay. That's how it goes. But I need to get out there since I'm here. So I expect to be really windy here in a little bit. Probably won't get a whole lot of audio, but I'll at least be able to kind of show what these conditions are looking like. It's about a little after 8 o'clock. Super windy out here. I had a whitetail buck come in about 100 yards. Wasn't that big, so he got a pass, but I was surprised to see him on his feet with all this wind. This kind of see like where I'm set up here. That buck came out just like right out of that draw, and kind of right up there, just like I was hoping something would. I've seen some movement over here, but not a whole lot. So I figured I'd camp it out. And, not a bad spot, but man, it is windy. You can kind of see what I have as my backdrop here. It's got a little bit of cover, but not a lot. So whitetail didn't seem to mind. He sat there for probably 5 minutes, took a few pictures. Unfortunately, wasn't able to get any video, but I'll put some pictures overlaid in here. So I've been driving down this county road 29. This compartment that I'm hunting has access from this road, neighbors this road. So I wanted to come give it one last look before I make a call and figure out what I want to do next. I've hunted back in the very northeast corner of this unit, which is where I'm coming from, that kind of neighbors this road. And it's a really nice looking area. There's some open, open meadows, if you will, not meadows, but kind of just rolling hills, and you're not hunting in the canyons essentially. So they're kind of the bottom land, if you will. And it just looks like just prime habitat just to see some deer move. And I've hunted there twice now and haven't seen anything. Not a skunk, not a rabbit, not a pig, certainly not any deer. And I wanted to drive this road just to see if there was some other little parcel of kind of open bottomland that I could hunt, that I just haven't been able to see from where I've been hiking the past few days. Haven't been able to pick out anything, so I don't feel like I'm missing out on much. And really what I mean by that is it's this terrain is just so rugged. I mean, it's with these cedars and sage and canyons. I mean, you could set up just about anywhere. The problem is being able to see anything, even if it's moving. So what I've tried to stick to is finding some area where it kind of bottoms out, where just some flat bottomland where it opens up to where, even if there is something on the move, you could see it even if it's on the perimeter. And that's how I saw that buck this morning. It did just that. So I feel like that's kind of the right game plan. And after talking over it more with some of the some guys, it seems like that was a mule deer, probably just a young buck. I had him look at me for probably a solid 5 minutes, and he wasn't outside the ears. He had mule deer characteristics, right? He had the really large ears. The thing he was missing that was really throwing me off, he hadn't developed any forks. So his rack was really more kind of the characteristic of what you'd see in a whitetail. So he didn't have any forks that he had developed yet. A decent sized body for sure. And then really when he trotted off, he didn't do that little bounce that you'll normally see some mule deer do. So I was confused for a while, and I obviously let him pass, and I'm glad I did. But it was exciting nonetheless to see some activity over there. With the way this has gone, I feel like I'm going to make a move and call it quits here and pack up and get on the road. I have a guided duck hunt that I've booked and paid for previously that just happened to line up with this. I was drawn for this hunt after obviously booking that well after, so timing is not really great, and it's very early on Saturday morning, with it being Thursday, kind of midday now. Really, I'm looking at an evening hunt and a morning hunt, and just based off what I've seen, I'm not really confident that there's going to be any kind of shooter buck in the area that I'm hunting. Could be wrong, of course, but I think I'm going to make a call here and pack up camp and get on the road, hopefully by around 11 or 12, get me back into the Metroplex at a decent time. So I'm not disappointed with the hunt. Man, this land is beautiful. The canyons are just gorgeous to look at. If you haven't been here, I'd say this is a great hiking trip. I don't know that, just kind of looking back, knowing what I know now, if I would go all in with the points that I did for this hunt. I had 11 or 12 years of mule deer points that I put in that were consumed to go on this hunt. And so really what it seems like, there's the unit that is to the very northeast, I think it's the green unit, that neighbors this property that has the planted wheat fields. And there's a lot of activity there, as you'd imagine. So I mean, the first day I got here, I wanted to go check that out to see if it was planted, and it was. And that's where I saw, quite a few deer. That one buck that definitely was legal as a shooter. Talking with the guys that ended up drawing that unit, they had done the same thing I did. As soon as they got here, they said, "Hey, we've heard there's a wheat field. Let's go check it out." They went over and checked it out, and saw a different buck. They saw a bigger one. They're like, "Man, that's a nice looking deer." We saw even a bigger one, older deer. So there's quite a few deer in that area. So I feel like if you think about it, there's 6 compartments. That one compartment neighbors that property that there's certainly a lot of activity. There's another unit that I think is the red unit that's close to that green unit and also neighbors some private land that is excluded from this hunt. Reason being, a week or two prior from when this hunt takes place, so the the very first week in December and then the last week in November, they do the e-postcard drawn hunts for Caprock Canyon. And that's essentially, if you have your annual public hunting permit that's like $40, you can apply for those e-postcard hunts, I think, for free. And then if you draw a tag, you have to pay for it, of course. It's probably, you know, 120, 130 bucks, like whatever this was. And but where I'm going with that is the unit that e-postcard hunt takes place at here at Caprock Canyon is that red compartment. It seems like that's pretty consistent from what we've heard. And that's apparently a baited hunt. So I'm assuming they drive the ranch road out there and throw corn or something, right? And they set up a few people on that draw that unit, probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 people. I don't know how many tags they draw. I'd have to go look on the Drawn Hunt website. And they set them up on that unit on a baited hunt. And that runs for a week or 2 prior to this mule deer hunt that's I'm on now. And so when we got here, they were like, hey, just a heads up, you know, this red unit, it's excluded from the draw. Like, no one's going to draw that. Reason being, it's that land's been baited, you know, for the hunt that took place prior. Like, okay, that's interesting. So if you think about it that way, there's 5 units that are available to hunt. And really one of those is kind of a prime unit to be in. The others that I'm in, yeah, I'm sure there's deer. Like I saw the buck this morning that I'll show the pictures of. Decent buck, but I mean, it's very hit or miss, you know, as far as being around a spot where you know there's going to be some activity. I'd say it's really limited to 1 unit. So long story short, where I'm going with that is knowing that now that, hey, you got a 1 in 5 chance of drawing a good compartment in this unit that is really kind of primed to see some mule deer activity. The odds of doing that and having saved up, you know, 10 to 15 to 20 years of points doesn't seem like a really good bet. So I think the guys that drew that unit said they had been applying for 25 years. So I mean, I'm putting all this out there just for stuff to think about if you find yourself in a similar situation where you're trying to make a judgment call on where to put in. So there's a couple of units here that are really gnarly that I'd imagine if you're hunting aoudad, there's an exotic hunt that's going to take place after this mule deer hunt concludes. So probably the last couple of weeks in December to the early part of January. The pink, I think it's the pink unit, and then the yellow unit, which are, I'll put a link to the map that shows where these units are, but essentially it's the very northwest corner of this state park, and then the southwest corner, that's where the big canyons are that are outside of where I've been. I'd imagine that's some pretty prime real estate for aoudad. I've heard from others that have been out here. I think the guys that actually drew that green unit that's close to the wheat field have actually hunted here before, and they hunted aoudad, and they said, or they hunted exotic. They drew that tag 4 or 5 years ago and said that on the second day of the hunt, they got like 12 inches of snow and the whole park was basically shut down. So they just called everything off, which kind of stinks. So, but anyways, you know, just some stuff to think about if you find yourself in a similar scenario like myself, where you're trying to make a call on where to apply your points in Texas for mule deer. And it's just kind of crummy, in my opinion, the way it works with how they do the loyalty points. You never really know when you're going to get drawn, right? You could have 25 years worth of points and still be putting in for this and not get drawn. So it's just one of those deals to where if you do, make sure it's a place you want to hunt, because, you know, it's they're gone after that. So anyways, hope that some of y'all that watch this find any of this information useful. But yeah, lessons learned. I'm going to pack up, camp here, and get on the road. And yeah, just I'd imagine I'll be back out here again at some point, maybe to do a camping trip or a hiking trip. It's just beautiful. So, all right, y'all take care.